What up, guys, and welcome back to Summer Lunch Break. Today's guest is a staple in the sport and best known for his insane style behind the boat. Yep, you guessed it, it's Ben Greenwood. Ben shares his stories of the early days of his professional career, what influenced him to pursue the wake industry, and his thoughts on how wakeboarding has evolved from past to present. From poking any trick on a board to working for Wakeboarding Magazine, Ben has done it all, and he's done it quite impressively. Grab some lunch and hang with us as we hear his thoughts on the greatest riders of all time and where he sees professional riding going in the future. Here he is, it's Ben Greenwood.
You know what I'm really scared about is if the wakeboarders get too close to shore, they may use some people on the shore as bonking items.
Summer Lunch Break.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are very excited that you are here. We're going to kick off our interview with the most important question of the day. And it's kind of weird because it's breakfast time where I am. I don't know about you, but either what you had for breakfast or what you're planning for lunch, we got to know.
Yeah, no, I skipped breakfast this morning. I had an early lunch and it was a tuna melt wrap kind of with kale and rice in there. So nice. Yeah, it was pretty good actually.
Yeah. Did you make it?
I did. Yeah, it's kind of my thing with my wife. Like when I'm working from home, you know, I kind of get the, all right, it's time for you to make me lunch kind of notice. Because she handles all the dinners. And like that's too complex for me.
Okay.
So yeah,
nice.
I'm on lunch duty. Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. All right, well, we're going to get right into it. I mean, you are a staple in the sport of wakeboarding, and you're known super well for your insane style. So I want to talk about that today. And to start, we want to start with kind of your story and how you got into wakeboarding. So go ahead and give us some detail on that.
Yeah, so I learned about wakeboarding through the pages of Wakeboarding Magazine at the time. Seeing ads for the Scurfer and catching it on ESPN when they had like the hot summer nights deal, or it was like, you know, probably the Bud Water Ski Pro Tour. They'd have like a little wakeboarding scurfing competition kind of thing. And I was immediately just obsessed with it. And then there was a guy on our lake. We had a summer cottage up in New Hampshire. So I grew up out in Massachusetts outside of Boston. And then just over the border in New Hampshire, we had a little tiny summer cottage where like my sisters and I shared a room. It was just like this awesome little, you know, deal, classic New Hampshire lake. And I learned to water ski behind a little John boat. And there was a guy on our lake that had a nice boat. I think it was an old Centurion. And then he got like one of the first Scurfers on the lake, and he was just going up doing fashion airs up and down the lake, and I was like, oh my god, I have to do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was trying to do tricks on my slalom ski. I was trying to like do jumps and grabs and all this stuff. And so for my 12th birthday, my parents got me the Scurfer Blast, the bright green one.
Nice.
But, it whistled when you like, you know, cut out to the outside. It just,
no way.
It's so cool. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, actually, too, like, so when I was so excited. I was 12 years old. I was really tiny, and those things were so buoyant. I didn't get up the first time I went to go try it. And it was like one of these things where you're like so excited. I was a decent slalom skier. I was like ready to get out there and do some tricks, and I couldn't even get up.
Oh gosh.
But I don't know if that like set everything in motion where I was like, I have to conquer this, you know?
Yeah,
but
totally.
Yeah, that's my first day standing sideways. Yeah.
Super awesome. That's sweet. I feel like a lot of people start on just a very normal little family boat, and then stuff just kind of happens. It's so cool to hear that. I know you kind of mentioned how, you know, not getting up your first time pushed you into like, I want to conquer this, but going into a professional career, what was the number one thing that kind of pushed you to pursue that?
To be honest, I think I probably said this in different conversations here and there along the way, but like, it wasn't my intention really to become a professional wakeboarder. I mean, I was obsessed with Sean Murray. I, watched Byerly's sections nonstop, and I always dreamt about how cool that would be to be in a video like that. And I think maybe that was my goal, but that wasn't really what a pro wakeboarder was then. It was, competitions, that kind of stuff. So I just moved to Florida after I graduated college to just ride, just to get it out of my system, more or less. Or I was so passionate about it. I went from managing restaurants in New York and graduating college to like bussing tables at Disney and just bumming it just so I could ride every day with Keith Lyman. And and coaching really was kind of helped to get me plugged into the scene and around a lot of the photographers and video guys. And then that, I think, when I started to get a little bit of love there, then I kind of was like, oh, this is probably my path, not what I thought a pro wakeboarder was, which was like winning competitions, because I was never really good at that part.
It's okay. That's awesome. Was that so when you were going to school and wakeboarding was kind of maybe more of a hobby at the time, and then you were getting more interested in pursuing it professionally? Was there another career path that you're like, this is what I'm going to do, and that's going to be my job, and I'm going to wakeboard on the side?
No, good question. Because I didn't have something that I was like, I am going to do this. I was a business major in college, and I was I minored in exercise physiology, but I figured I'd probably go to business school, get my MBA or go back to school to, do something in the exercise science world. But like wakeboarding, it's funny. I got a note on LinkedIn from an old college buddy, because Alliance had posted the Rider of the Year recap thing from '05, and I was like, oh, and I shared it, and I was like, yeah, thanks for the walk down memory lane. And a buddy of mine from college was like, I specifically remember sitting in your dorm room watching wakeboarding videos, being like, what is this? But he's like, but I knew the whole thing because I watched it over and over and over again. So it was always like this burning passion, and it occupied my thoughts all the time, even when it was, we're under 5 feet of snow in upstate New York. But
right.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
Actually, an interesting conversation I had with my I don't know what you call it, like your kind of college mentor, advisor.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of like, one of the professors that you connect with that's going to give you advice on what to do next.
Yeah.
And he's like, so when you get home, I was trying to decide between, business school and exercise physiology. He's like, well, what's the first book you pick up when you go to study? And I was like, Wakeboarding Magazine, actually. And he's like, well, then you should do that. And I'm like, well, it's not really. And he's like, well, you're not going to be happy if you do something else, if that is your passion, and that's the first thing you think about. And so that after I graduated, I packed up a truck and drove down.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's cool that he told you, like, do what you're passionate about rather than like do this super crazy, you know what I mean? Like kind of pushing you to just do what's going to make you happy as well as what you love to do. That's sweet.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're going to jump in a little bit different direction, but still focused on how your professional career became and where it went. We want to talk about, you have insane style when you ride, and everybody knows that. Did you ever have a kind of moment where you were like, dude, this sport is lacking what I have, and I need to do something about it?
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
No, but I'll be clear. What I didn't do, so that may be a misconception. And I got a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't intentional until I realized that there was a space for it. Kind of like what I said about like, going the video and content path. I seriously just rode how I thought I felt I looked good or felt good. and I
Yeah.
avoided tricks that I did not like the way they felt, like a Tootsie Roll, for example. I had landed a couple of those and I was like, I hate that trick because I just didn't know where I was. It wasn't comfortable for me. And it's not because it's a lame trick, because look at what the guys are doing now with it. It looks like some of the stuff that Mossy does is like the craziest stuff. And it's just, it's a Tootsie Roll, you know, but anyway.
Yeah.
But like being the style police and doing things legitimately or this or that, like I didn't, it's not that it was intentional in that I wanted to do it that way, but it wasn't like this is how it should be done and everything else is lame.
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost got kind of pegged as that. And I used to,
Yes.
and I coached at the wakeboard camp where I was like talking to beginners and just like, and whenever the conversation came about doing it correctly, I'm like, there's no correct way style. It's what you want to do and what makes you
Yeah.
feel good. So that's why I said no. It wasn't that I was like, oh, I'm gonna be this most legit or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I just ended up, I don't know, I was copying some of the cool stuff I saw in snowboarding. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much what I was doing.
That's awesome. That I like that, you say there's no correct way to do it. It's just about, what makes you feel the best and how, you figure it out as a rider. That's really important. Did you feel like pressure that you were kind of like this poster guy for, this insane style, or that, because you didn't make a conscious decision to kind of be that, but then people put that label on you? Was there a lot of pressure that sat with that?
Yeah. So, and it sort of manifested a couple different ways. Like first off, to me, it was the biggest compliment that anybody could ever give me, that they liked that, because to me, that was either something that you kind of honed or something that just came naturally to you, or a combination of the two, not something that like, when I say hone, not like work hard, because I struggle with people that are like, oh, I do my style tricks and I do this trick and I work on my style. I'm like, no, like that's not the point, like, and I never looked at it that way. What I always tried to do is learn a trick, and you have to learn the base of the trick. At least I did. I wasn't good enough to just do it the way I wanted to first time, but then I would do certain tricks over and over and over again, and then find maybe a new way to add something unique to it that I liked. And it wasn't, this is another point, I never tried to do things differently just to be different. I wanted to do things differently because it was something that I felt like I liked or looked good. But then yes, then there were times where I was, I would do a trick that I was just learning. I was like trying to figure out how to do, backside off axis wrap tricks, and like Danny Harp, I was copying him, which is a lot what I just copied people that I like. And it did not look good at first. I was struggling with like how to find my own way to do it that I liked. And it did not look cool at first. And I got made fun of for a little bit with some of my buddies. And I kind of took that with like, okay, like I'll figure out a way to do this. And yeah. So
sometimes it takes a good roast after a bail to get back out there and get it right again. Do you have a favorite trick that you enjoy, like all time, like every time you stomp it, you're like, that's the one, that's my favorite?
I guess a Pete Rose would be the one that I like kind of forever had said that was my favorite trick. It was the first mobe I ever landed. It was the first, like, it was a big sort of breakthrough trick for me. But I also just really loved the way it looked. Like when Byerly invented it, it was just like, that is the coolest looking thing to me. And then, and I just loved the way it felt too. So I think I counted with somebody that I'd done like over 10,000 of them or something over my career. They just, estimating, because I would do it like multiple times a set, every set, every day.
Totally.
Just because I loved it. But I'd be scared to do one now. The trick I wouldn't be scared to do now and would like a wrap backside off axis 5.
Okay.
I could, like, even though I haven't been riding much, I could go out and at least try that and not be too scared. Like a Pete Rose, I haven't done one in a little while.
Kind of have to work your way up to it again.
Yeah, definitely.
Was there ever a trick while you were, in your professional career that you were like, I can't get it? Like it's just pushed you to your limit of just like, oh my gosh, like it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Or maybe you got it, but it just took a little extra time.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, because the first one, this one that stands out the most is a backside five into the flats. It's something I wanted to do forever. You know, Jerry Nunn used to do it. Darren Shapiro used to do it. Of course, Randall had the best back five of all time, still does probably. But I think my friends got so sick of watching me fall and pop the handle, like, and I just wanted to do it over and over. And I finally started. I put one of my best ones down for Sean Kilgis's film for Drive, and Randall happened to be in the boat that time, and that was like a cool moment.
Totally.
But yeah, but then I don't know. There's certain tricks like I always want to do an Olay 9 or you know, mute crow 5 as they call it today, but keep it flat. But I could never get myself to commit to it,
Yeah.
and that still bothers me today. That I never really like fully committed to it.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry I brought it up.
No, it's all right. I'm okay with it.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, we're gonna shift, still talking about professional career, but we will shift into how did you make the shift from your professional writing career to working for Wakeboarding Mag?
Yeah, so I was kind of at the tail end of the, you know, sponsor me gig. It was after I had lost the Quicksilver deal. It was, you know, after 08, after the downturn, and teams were not looking to grow your position if as a, you know, 30-plus-year-old. And I was kind of at that crossroads of like, you know, do I go full on with the coaching? Because there's great opportunities there. Or you know, I was just kind of, I was at a crossroads. I happened to meet my now wife, right, kind of during that time. It all kind of like lined up nicely. She's a career woman who was a little bit confused about what it was that I was doing, and you know, and we joke about it now. I'm like, yeah, when you met me, I was like, kind of, I didn't really have a job. I was sort of like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But she stuck it out, so I'm really glad for that. But Sean Perry called me. Sean Perry was the content editor at Wakeboarding Mag at the time, and Luke Woodling, who was editor-in-chief, was being promoted, and Sean Perry was stepping up to the editor-in-chief role. And he said he wrote down a list of names to backfill his role, and he wrote down my name, and then he said he couldn't write, he didn't have any other names after that, so he called me and offered me a job. And I said, it was 2011, and I said, yeah, I mean, I don't really have many other people calling me for a full-time job over the phone. It was a pay cut from where I was at the time, but not the direction I was going. It was obviously going the wrong way.
Yeah.
But it was a chance to plug in, kind of, you know, get out of the boat and into something else, which was important to me in that moment. So I went from basically getting paid to like sit in the boat and go play golf and go travel, to sitting in a cubicle from 9 to 5. But I'm so glad I made that jump. I had to swallow a lot of ego. There was a bit of a adjustment period. Like I didn't really understand like office culture just because I hadn't been around it. But I figured it out, and then I moved into sales. I was started on content, moved into sales, then was promoted to publisher, and then branched out to other things, and now I've moved on from that as well. So
yeah. What was, you know, do you have a favorite memory of working with them?
With wakeboarding, probably Wake Awards. I mean, like putting on Wake Awards, it's the most stressful deal. We would lose sleep. It was just.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, and but I had been to every single Wake Awards since the beginning as a rider, and I just thought it was so cool. Even when I was asked to sit in the VIP area, I was like, whoa, that's so cool. But then, you know, I was able to present once in a while and that kind of stuff. But then to actually help put it on from a content angle, that was cool. And then actually, you know, produce the show from funding it and organizing it, like it's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, sounds like maybe that was one of the really fun parts of the job. Was there anything that you were like, oh man, I don't like this?
Yeah, plenty. Just like with any job. I mean, so with Wakeboarding Magazine specifically, when we had to get rid of print, that was heartbreaking. And especially I was the publisher. I was in the driver's seat. Granted, above my pay grade in terms of making that call, but I totally respect and understand it. I was responsible for the budget, so I knew that it wasn't sustainable. And I was also selling to a lot of these companies that are straight up telling me, we don't want to pay for this anymore, sorry. We love what you guys do, we want to support, but we cannot support the print magazine, which is a shame, because nobody wanted to see it go, except for people that had maybe online media outlets. Maybe they weren't bummed about it, but in terms of like the athletes, I was even talking to a bunch of friends, they're just like, I think Brian Grubb even said it, like, no more covers of Wakeboarding Magazine. That was such a thing, like who got the cover, or like what the image was. And I haven't seen anything that can replace that. Not to say that there isn't valuable digital things that can happen out there, absolutely, but the magazine itself, because the pages of Wakeboarding Magazine is like, that's why I'm here. Like, it's why I moved to Florida. I wanted to be a part of what was going on in there. And today, that's just not how people see it. I guess you'd see it on social, and like, I want to be a part of that. I want to be wherever that's happening, and that's fine. It's totally fine that the evolution happens. But for me, it would be like today's day and age, they are, just all these people get older, and then all of a sudden, social media just disappears, and they're like, wait, but that's like where I learned about everything. It would be I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be the same, but
that physical thing you can hold in your hand that like you put so much work into, like that is so important. And I feel like it is sad that we don't have that anymore, because while social media is awesome and so many people get noticed through it and there's a lot going on there, it does, it's hard to not have those, like, sit down and look at it for your 100th time again, just because you're so proud of something that's there, or you love this one page that's in there. You know what I mean? I had a whole archive in my office that was every issue from the very, very first issue, including every special issue, every issue printed in Chinese or Japanese, sorry. Then there was just so much cool stuff. And I just remember being in my office, having the meeting, having to tell, Garrett and Emily and Mike that I was the one, I knew the news, but our editorial director was the one that came in to say, hey, you could stop working on this next issue. And we're sitting there surrounded by like hundreds and hundreds of magazines that have been printed. It's like, that was tough. I mean, nobody felt good about that, but well, when I first started here, not only did I grab like magazines like that, but like when I first started, I was so excited to just like be a part of the industry that I was like, oh my gosh, I need all these magazines. I'm gonna make this super cool collage on my wall. It's still up there now. Like, I had it up in college, and I like managed to peel each and every one off, get it back to my house here, and like put it all up again. Like, it's cool to just be able to look at, the physical thing. It's right there, rather than like on my phone or on the laptop, It's just nice. It's nice. All right, we'll switch. One more question kind of in this category is just, I want to know your opinion of what was the best thing that boosted pro wakeboarding into kind of the limelight that it was in.
Yeah, good question. I could say probably a couple different things. I'd give credit to like Dallas Friday. I mean, like she, her accolades and the attention that she got outside of our little bubble was huge. Parks Bonifay, I can't tell you, through my career and post, his name comes up to this day with like, oh, what did it used to be a pro wakeboarder? Yeah. Oh, that's Parks Bonifay, right? Like he is, so I think there's individuals that really helped that. I mean, Sean Murray, obviously, it's still to this day, it's ridiculous, but and the best thing ever. But I give them credit individually, but there's a whole network of people that put on the competitions, that negotiated deals with ESPN, that like all those things behind the scenes, you know, like the Sean Dishmans of the world, the, you know, Chris Bischoffs, the, you know, World Publications, like all the people behind the scenes, and Billy McCaffrey, the Alliance crew, like what they did with Fuel, you know, for me personally, it was Fuel TV and Sean Kilgus, Justin Stevens, like the content creating folks and being in those videos. But in total, like, you know, X Games, obviously that was a big deal. So when we lost it, that was a big punch in the gut. But now it's weird because, like, being in the limelight, it's like you've got, you know, Steele hanging out with Machine Gun Kelly, or these people hanging out with whoever, and it's like now it's just so like in the nebulous, like just all these connections and all these people. You know, I see all these like really, you know, high level, high end snowboarding folks or motocross dudes like commenting on, you know, some of the riders' posts, and you know, they're out wake surfing together and stuff like that. I think is so cool, and it's such a different thing from when I was going through it. It's cool to see because it is so different. But at the same time, I'm like, man, thank God I didn't have to be on my phone all day. I just got to show up and do a shoot and let somebody else do the deal and edit the show and do that. And I think it's harder now, like way harder.
Oh yeah. Well, especially to kind of get, you know, to put yourself out there on kind of this pedestal to be like, look at me, like, look what I can do, like, and show yourself off. Basically, I feel like it can be kind of hard for people because everyone's doing that. Everybody's on social media. Everybody's got their content, their creation. It's like you almost have to weed through it all to find that one really special rider.
Or one that you connect with, right? Because you know, much like anything, the person with the most followers is typically not like the most talented. And you know, if you really drill down, it's the one who makes the most noise and the, you know, gets the most eyeballs. So that, like, and I say thank God I'm not in today's world, because I said to Don Wallace, it's the dumbest thing I've ever said, but he is offering me a contract, and I've just blown my knee out. So I'm just like, and he was basically offering me like one of my first contracts, and I'm like, oh man, like I just don't feel like I'm very marketable. And he's like, well, you just haven't been marketed yet, so you don't know that, or you know, you haven't really, because in my head I'm like, well, I don't have crazy tattoos and I'm not, you know, out there doing this and that. I'm just like, I just love wakeboarding and you know, ride the way I want to ride or whatnot. But but that, you couldn't get away with that now. Like if you were just if this was me today, I'd like post a video or go to post a video. I'd be like, no, that looks stupid. I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna post anything for a while until I get something good. That doesn't really work. Like you got to be posting every single day. And that bothered me when I started seeing like riders going, oh, here's a trick, it's super sketchy, I usually land it way better, but here it is. And I'm like, just don't post that one, just hold that one, or get rid of it, wait a day or two, get something worth posting. But that's why I wouldn't work, because I don't know, I would just be too picky about what I was posting.
I feel like with constantly having to upload and share and put yourself out there, you lose a little bit of that like super focus to be like, this is the perfect one that I want everyone to see. Whereas a lot of people maybe are just sharing stuff because they feel like they have to.
100%. Yeah, the quality control is much, the threshold is much lower in terms of like what makes it.
I got
that's my opinion.
Yeah. And kind of,
the writing is better.
We're already kind of talking about it, but wakeboarding has gone through a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and I'd love to, you know, hear maybe some that have stood out to you, both the highs and the lows, just over time, while you've been involved in the industry. Yeah,
I mean, from a just total industry standpoint, or my
totally, just kind of whatever you want to share is totally fine. But
well, like, you know, I think in the beginning there was this absolute magic, and I really, really hope that, you know, even today's riders who weren't even born until years after this was already happening, I hope they can sense that or feel that. And it's okay if they don't. I don't, it doesn't bother me that much, but it'd just be nice to, you know, to at least understand what the roots and the beginnings were, because it was so magical. It was like these guys were going out there every day, like totally blank slate, and we're like, what if we did this? What if we tried this? What about this? And like the old videos of that surface of like Gator or Byerly or Necrassen riding behind someone's, like that video of Byerly riding behind an outboard and just doing like the craziest stuff. Like, how is that even possible? And
right,
how did he, because that's the thing, right? Like all these young riders today, everything is possible because someone's done it already. So it's like, which is fine, but that's why I'm saying they're so good. They're so much better at wakeboarding than, 10 years ago, because everything, it's like, oh, well, that's just what you do, you just go out and you do it. That's why we have like 9-year-olds doing, 720s that if I went out to go do one right now, I'd probably get hurt, but it's insane. But definitely that beginning when it was just sort of like, no one knew where the ceiling was. People wanted to be a part of it. It was an absolute community of fans and participants that, like, you knew someone was a wakeboarder because they were either wearing something or it would come up in conversation in the first 5 sentences, right? I feel like that's changed a lot. So if you fast forward to today, and you've got wake surfing and that, that's really driving the market, and it's awesome because it's like totally reinvigorated families getting out on the boat together, and everybody can do it, and it's low barrier in terms of like physical ability or fear, obviously huge barrier in terms of cost and accessibility. But that's all. I mean, that's been an element of it from the beginning. It's just it's just drastically changed. But that was really cool. Then I definitely felt like I got the upswing of all the surf companies coming in, competing over our space. The Billabongs, Quicksilvers, O'Neills, like there were companies that were in it for the long haul. But Quicksilver for me was that opportunity where Billy McCaffrey and Corey Murata recommended me for the role, and that was a personal high for me to work for Quicksilver for those years. And it definitely, like I said, there were TV shows with Fuel, Pole was a huge opportunity, and there's just a lot going on. And then after all the highest highs, the lowest lows. So when I got let go of Quicksilver and that opportunity was ripped away, that was the lowest. I think that was probably the lowest I was personally. I think a lot of riders had a tough go over those next few years, and then when the energy drink companies started to pull out, like Monster dropped their program, and you started to see a couple of these companies go, oh yeah, we're kind of out, we don't really have a team anymore, this or that. Like, that was a bummer. I think what's happening now is good in that our sport is kind of like, okay, we're kind of like ups and downs, and is it going to be as big as this sport or not, or whatever, and it's okay, like we can just be our own thing. And then I mean, it's two different sides of it, but you've got the boating side, which boating will never go away, whether wakeboarding exists or not, or wake surfing disappears tomorrow. People are still going to want to be on boats. There's that. And then you've got the cable angle, which is awesome because of the things I said before about cost and accessibility. Takes that out of it. So so I like where it is right now, especially just kind of sitting back as a fan, and for the first time in my whole working career, I don't have anything to do with the sport anymore for the first time, which is kind of crazy. So now I truly just look at it as a fan and as a very part-time participant.
That's crazy. Good points. I like that. All right, next question. I guess we kind of touched on this too, but I'm going to ask again. Where do you kind of see, so from the changes that you've seen over all these years, and now sitting back as more of kind of a fan, where do you see professional wakeboarding going in the future?
Yeah, I think it's it definitely is focused on being your own kind of content creator. I mean, we've seen the contests are less of a, seems to be less important to everybody as it once was. So a big drastic change from today to 20 plus years ago was who's winning the Pro Tour, who's winning Worlds. Like, I think that still matters. I just think there are other things that matter equally or more, or it's arguable where that falls. But in the future, you know, I don't see social media disappearing. I think like playing that game, you know, creating your own brand, you know, it's just the success of like some of the YouTube guys. And then, you know, I don't know what the next big thing is. If I did, I'd invest in it, but I don't know what the next big platform is or you know, experience or whatnot. But you know, I the Adventure IO guys, like, I think what they do, I think there's like a path for that. I think if you have something unique and then you can connect with people, that is something that I would do. If something happened tomorrow and I had to be a part of wakeboarding and I would still want to be on the boat and all that stuff, I would get with those guys and I would build an experience and welcome people to it and help them and coach them and that kind of stuff. So you know, I think even though there are less opportunities to kind of work within the industry, like that was always my plan. This is a lot of guys were like, oh, well, I'll just do this for a while and get a job in the industry. I'll just be a team manager. I'll just do this. And those opportunities are, you know, not disintegrated, but like there are very, very few compared to what it once was. However, I think the opportunity to like, you know, build your own brand and do your own thing is like massively, there's a massive amount of opportunity compared to where it once was.
Totally. That's awesome. That's cool. Good insight. All right. We are shifting gears into our segment called Hot Takes. So these are more just kind of fun questions that are meant to make you think a little bit. Answer them as you wish. Number one, who is the best wakeboarder of all time? And then male and female.
Oof. Ooh, that's I'm on the spot.
Look, yeah, you're already scratching your head.
Female, I'm going to go with my girl Amber Wing. I think, you know, not to take anything away from like what Dallas has done. I mean, I used her as my example for you know, helping the sport, but Amber, like, she did trick. I watched her learn tricks years and years and years ago that I have not seen any other girl even try recently in the recent past.
Yeah,
I think she was so I'll say Amber. And then male, oof, that's I go with Danny Harf because just the variety of stuff that he did. He has it all, kind of like progression, contest winning, style, rails, this and that, and just all that. Begrudgingly, if I had gun to my head, I have to say it, Danny Harf.
Like it. Awesome. I'll appreciate it. They both will. All right, next. Who has the best style in wakeboarding these days? And we can also do both male and female.
Can I do two?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, you're fine.
Tyler Hyam and Josh Twelker for males. And then
can I ask why? Do you have reasons?
I mean, not just because Josh used to say that I was one of his favorite riders. It's not that. No, but because in the picture of wakeboarding I always had in my head of what I wanted myself to be able to do looks a lot like what they're doing today.
Nice.
Like,
that's cool.
I always wanted to do a particular trick, poked a certain way and spin it a certain amount of times. And I only got to, you know, hear of where I wanted to be. And they're like way up here. So I mean, but there's so many. I mean, like Gunther, like there's a lot of really, really fun guys to watch.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to, that's these questions are meant to
okay.
make you.
All right. So I won't, yeah. So those two. And then for women, I love the way Megan Neffel rides. I really do. I think I appreciate that she's kind of taken, like, you know, she's top of her game, like, you know, has won everything. And I feel like she cares. She cares about what it looks like. And I think that's cool. Not to say that you have to care what it looks like, but I just think it's cool that she does.
Yeah, I think it's really cool too. When we talked, I actually talked to her a couple weeks ago, and it was just really cool to hear kind of her story about how she does take the sport really seriously, but also, like, I don't know, she just makes it look so easy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. All right, next. Where is the best place on earth to wakeboard?
Claremont, Florida. Sorry guys, I always had this thing, because we were at the wakeboard camp, guys were always, we always claim, that it was our place, but then when everybody moved out there, we're like, oh, because it was our own little, we could pick from like 13 different lakes or 11 lakes, I think, and we had it all to ourselves. I totally get it why everyone wanted to move out there. And the reason I say that is just because of the ease of access, the variety of like lines you can pick. Not the most picturesque place for, doing videos and photos and stuff, but overall, that's the best place for,
totally,
in my memory. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. All right. Last one in this category. What is your favorite wakeboard movie of all time?
Ooh.
And why? I'm gonna need to know why. So.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. So Monkey on a String, because it was a very, very pivotal time for me. So it came out in like 99, I think, and or maybe 2000. I was graduating college, and I was like in that, what am I gonna do? Where am I gonna? Am I gonna stay up here? Am I gonna just bum it in Florida, figure it out? And seeing like there's the ender in that is like, Danny Harp and Sean Watson doing nines, and like Danny does a heel nine. I didn't even know that was possible. Yeah. And it's just like plopped in this video, and I'm like, oh my god. So I probably watched that one more than any. But I don't know, the Natural Born Thrillers, like that was what Keith Lyman and I wore that tape out while we're in Florida. That's when we're like riding every day and honing our craft and doing this. And I honestly believe that movie shaped how we like wanted to ride.
Way cool.
Yeah. So and there's been amazing ones all over, but those two are the most impactful for me.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see if we get some more movies in the next couple of years or so, now that everything's kind of shifting back to how it should be. So it's tough, and I understand why. It's so expensive, it's so much effort. And there are just other ways to do things now, but I feel the same. There's nothing like a full-length film that's like, like what Trevor Mauer's doing. I think like, I give him all the credit. Excited. I'm so excited. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Especially just seeing his stuff from the past too. It's like, it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, no, he makes great stuff.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. I'm excited to see what's to come. All right. That is all the questions I have today.
Okay.
We are ready to wrap it up and call it good.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks to Active and Dan and yourself. And I've always been a fan of what you guys got going on. And thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy that you were able to join us. Come on here, share your story. It teaches me some stuff that I didn't know, which is always nice. We appreciate you giving us our time and sharing with us.
Great.
Well, awesome, Ben. Thank you so much, and we'll see you around.
All right. Thanks.
Later.
Take care, Summer. Bye.